Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Papermaze. And this month I'm working with some mixed media products. So my last blog focused on dry mixed media, and today I'm going to be creating a layout using wet mixed media, lots of water and loads of Shimmerz products. Now, because I'm adding loads of water, I have applied a coat of clear gesso to my background. I've also got some flower cut files here. Those have also been treated with clear gesso. I'm going to try and pick out some Shimmerz products to match the colours in my photos. So I'm going with blues for my background because my son's wearing a navy blue coat in the photo, and then I'm going to go for purples and yellows for the flowers. So you can see here I've pulled out lots of different products. Not entirely sure at the start here what I will use on top of my Shimmerz, so I've pulled loads out. With my gesso, I very rarely use gesso, if I'm honest. When I'm adding a lot of water like I am today, I will. And I always use clear gesso on white cardstock because I find that white gesso is never really truly white. It's usually an off-white creamish colour. So it's okay to add onto patterned paper, but I would always go for clear gesso on white cardstock, and it dries invisible. So you can get away with just coating the area that you want to apply your mixed media if you want to. So I like to make my mixed media up in layers. So my first layer today will be adding some texture paste. Now I've cut myself a stencil on my Silhouette machine here, just on some premium white cardstock from Papermaze. I'm just going to press my texture paste down through that using a plastic spatula or palette knife. And I love this texture paste. It's by Ranger. It's called, I think it's Opaque Matte, and it's white. And I'm just sort of roughly adding it. I don't want this to be perfect. I don't want clear, neat edges. I want sort of jaggedy edges. So adding that nice and thick through that homemade stencil there. I am going to clean my spatula off before I go any further, because once texture paste dries on stuff, it can be a bit of a pain to get off. So you can see there how the texture paste has pressed through that homemade stencil, and like I said, it's nice and rough and jaggedy and bumpy. Didn't want it perfect at all. Nothing about mixed media should be perfect in my eyes. It's all about playing and having fun and chucking things down on the page, so I definitely didn't want my texture paste to be perfect. So I've quickly dried that off camera with my heat gun, and then I'm coming in with the next kind of layer of mixed media. And I've swiped a couple of Distress Oxide ink pads across the layout there, just directly onto the page. I used Chip Sapphire and Mermaid Lagoon, and then I sprayed loads of water down, sort of tilted the page a bit to let that colour run, and I quickly realised it wasn't as dark as I was going for, not quite the right colour. So I mopped quite a bit of it up with some kitchen towel. Now the gesso allows me to do that. It acts as a primer, so it's like a barrier between the cardstock and your mixed media products. So rather than letting the ink soak through the cardstock, it kind of pulls on top of it. And it gives you time to add that water, let the colours all mix and run together, but it also allows you to soak stuff up if you don't want it, like I did there. So quickly got some of that up, and then I came in with my Shimmerz products, and I've used Till the End of Time, which is an original Shimmerz, so that's a wet paint with loads of shimmer in it. And I've also brought in some Winter's Mist, and again that's an original Shimmerz. So if you have a check out of the blog, I'll pop the link down below. I have kind of gone into a little bit of detail on the blog there about each of the Shimmerz products and what they are and how they work. But just quickly, original Shimmerz are wet paints in a little pot. You've got inklings, which are kind of hard paints, and you have to spray water or add water into the pot to activate them, stir them up with a paintbrush. Then you've got Vibes, which is the spray I'm using here. This is called Jenny Be Blue, this colour. I've got two of those ones, and neither of my bottles work. I've clogged them both up somehow, so I just added a few little splatters there with it, and then I've come back in with Till the End of Time. And these products are all shimmery, so they all have shimmer in them. You also get creamies, which are slightly thicker, more richer paints. Again, those are I think those are dry paints, I'm trying to remember now. Yes, they are dry paints. So you add water again to those. They don't have quite as much shimmer, but they do have more colour to them. So it kind of depends what you're going for as to which you reach for. And you will notice that, so Till the End of Time, for example, is an original Shimmerz. It's not like the Distress Inks and Oxides where you can get the same shade in both. Each colour is unique to the type of Shimmerz product, if that makes sense. So Till the End of Time is an original Shimmerz. It's not available as an Inklings or a Spritz or anything like that. So I've just added loads of water to my background there, you'd have seen as I was waffling on. Added loads of water, I've tilted the page from side to side. I've used a wet paintbrush to move the colour around. I'm able to soak bits up where I want to with a kitchen towel, and then I've dried it off so that I can carry on with my next layer. And when I'm adding this much water to a page, I always dry with my heat gun from the top and also underneath the page, and that stops the page from warping quite so much. So once I had that dry, I've come in with some gold splatters. This is an Inklings, so it's a dry Shimmerz paint in a pot. I've added water and given it a stir to activate that, and the colour is good as gold, and that's given me some lovely shimmery gold splatters on my background. And you can see there now it's all dry how shimmery these products are. I think they are super pretty, so definitely one of my go-to products when I want some sparkle and shine on my page. So I'm pretty much done with my mixed media background at this point, but I also want to add some mixed media to these flower cut files. So mixed media for me isn't just about backgrounds, you can add it to lots of things. So I add mixed media products to die cuts, to cut files. I've used it to colour chipboard, so like the Dusty Attic chipboard. I've coloured thickers with them, especially the Vicky Boutin ones. I think they came with Colour Study. No, it wasn't Colour Study. It might have been Colour Kaleidoscope, I can't remember now. But the white ones with the black outline that are kind of like cardboard without any sheen or anything to them, they paint really well with Shimmerz Paints or any mixed media product. So you can add mixed media to loads of different things. So I'm going to colour these cut files now. I've pulled out, like I said at the beginning, yellows and kind of purples and pinks to try and mimic the colours of the crocuses in my photo. So the yellow I've got here is Dandelion, and that's a Creamies, so it's not got a lot of shimmer to it. So I do bring in a couple of other products in a minute just to add a bit of variation in the shading and also a bit of shimmer. So I bring in a Mango Tango, which is a Vibes, kind of an orangey colour. And I also use a bit of Fossilised Amber Distress Oxide. And my flowers end up a little bit more orange than I was hoping for. I was hoping for more yellow, but they do end up a little bit more on the orange side. So I did bring in some of that good as gold, trying to make them a bit more yellow, but didn't quite get the colour I was achieving, but that's because I added the Mango Tango. So it's all about playing and experimenting and adding things until you can find the colour you are looking for. And I'm going to dry these off with my heat tool as I go and kind of build up the variation in shades there. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the rest of them, but I'm going to try and make those purple. So I've pulled out an Inklings Plum Crazy. So that's a hard paint that you add water to. Then I also use, I think, Creamies Berry Hot, and the other one is an Inklings Beats Me. So again, hard paints that you add water to. You can see here I'm mixing some of that pink in, trying to add some variation to these yellow ones, which is why it ends up more orange in the end. And then I come in with the Vibes. But I'm just going to leave you with some music for this bit. I don't want to cut it out of the video because I want to show you how I sort of add the colours and blend them and dry them off and mix them and such. So I'll leave you with some music for this bit and I'll be back in a mo. So there we go, that is all my flowers painted. Those were a layered flower cut file by Paige Evans. You can buy that on the Silhouette store, your design studio, whatever it's called, I can't remember now. But yeah, you get I think 4 or 5 different sizes and you can layer them up. So I've just made 3 flowers and I've alternated the colours between the kind of yellowy orange and the purple. And I'm going to have those sitting along the bottom there of my circular photo. So I've got a large, I think it's about 4-inch diameter photo, and I've also printed 2, or I haven't printed, I've cut 2 smaller ones. So where I cut my photo in a circle, a lot of the flowers were at the bottom of the photo and so were cut off. So I've used just some small nesting circle dies to cut what was left from the big one, just so I've got a couple of photos of flowers as well, and I'm going to add those in on the right of my main photo just to bring in some more flowers, and so that, because a lot of it will be covered up with those mixed media flowers, so I want to still see that my little boy is sitting amongst some flowers. So by adding those other photos, that works quite well. And I've just pulled in some papers from Vicky Boutin's colour study collection. I know that there's that lovely purple purple paper. So I've mounted my photos onto a white cardstock, and then I've added a layer of that purple behind just to tie in again with those mixed media flowers and the purples in the photo. And I've distressed the edges of those with a distressing tool. And now I'm getting these flowers in place. I've layered them up with foam pads, but because they weren't 100% dry, the foam hasn't stuck too well, so they keep falling apart on me. So I'm just quickly adding some double-sided tape in as well. That is one thing I will say about mixed media, especially backgrounds where you've used gesso. Some adhesives don't like to stick to it as well. So wet glue, for example, takes a lot to stick to gesso, I find, and sometimes texture paste as well. So double-sided tape tends to be my go-to adhesive when I've got gesso on my page or texture paste. So that's pretty much why those flowers were falling apart, partly because I'm impatient and didn't dry them enough, but secondly because they've got gesso on them, the foam pads just weren't taking. So I've had to come in with the double-sided tape. So that's my flowers and my photos in place. I don't want to embellish this layout too heavily now, otherwise I'll end up covering a lot of that mixed media background, which I don't want to do because it's really pretty and shimmery. So I'm just going to add some sequins to the centre of these flowers now. These are by Spiegelmum's scraps. Papermaze also stock a wide range of sequins, so I'll pop a link in the description box below. Head on over and have a look at what Vanessa's got in stock. I'm purely using Spiegelmum because I'm on the design team and I have loads of them, so it makes sense to use some up. But yeah, I'll pop a link in the description box below to Vanessa's sequin selection. So I'm just pulling out some yellows and purples here, again alternating them with those layered flowers. And I am going to add a few to my background as well, in shades of purple, or kind of dark purple and blue as well. So my little boy's got turquoisey coloured trousers on in the photo, so I pull in a couple of turquoise sequins just to tie all those colours together. And I'm just going to finish off the page with some of these butterflies from Vicky Boutin's colour study. This was my favourite paper in this whole collection, I think. And I've used, every layout I have used colour study on, I have added these butterflies to because I just love them. I need to get hold of some more. Vanessa's out of stock at the moment, so I might see if she can get some more in, but I just absolutely love this paper. And it doesn't have to just be for colour study, you could use these for anything. You could also add mixed media to them. They're kind of off-white, so they would colour really nicely with Shimmerz Paints. I didn't do it on this occasion because I've got quite a lot going on already. I didn't want those butterflies to get lost on my mixed media background, so by leaving them black and white, they're kind of a bit more striking and stand out. But yeah, they would colour fabulously with mixed media products. Just going to add my title now. I'm using a couple of sets of thickers I had left over from some previous hip kit clubs. And my title is going to be Island Blooms, because this photo was taken of my little boy recently on the Isle of Wight where my parents live. We popped over for a few days for half term, so we just went for a walk down the beach, and then behind the beach you've got this lovely grassland, and it was just full of white, purple and yellow crocus, and he loves sitting amongst flowers for photos, so I thought that title worked quite well. And then we're just getting those butterflies stuck down. Then it'll be a case of just adding some sequins to my background, and that will be me done today. So there we go, all finished. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this layout and the process, and it's given you some inspiration for getting a bit messy with mixed media. My motto is it's only paper. At the end of the day, if I make a background and I don't like it or it doesn't work how I want it to, I'll either bin it or I'll use it to cut some shapes from like circles or hexagons or something and use on another layout. But it is all about playing and having fun and enjoying it. So the one bit of advice I would give to people just starting out with mixed media is don't be scared of it. It's just paint and paper, so just have fun and just have a play with different colours and shades and different ways and techniques. I'll pop the link to the Papermaze blog below. I just touched on different techniques and ways to add mixed media products to your layout, and also explain a bit more about the different Shimmerz products. So I'll pop that below. Do head on over and have a read if you'd like to learn a bit more. But thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.